accessing classified data stream, decrypting digital skeletons. This may get me flagged. You've heard the names. You've seen the memes. You've probably whispered, "Wait, didn't Trump know Epstein?" Or shouted, "How is this not a bigger story?" So today, I'm asking the forbidden question. Why won't they release the Epstein files? From billionaire buddy lists to flights you were never supposed to track. From Trump's not-so-distant connections to the "he definitely didn't kill himself" saga. From just a photo op to, well, that's a weird number of sealed indictments. We're diving into the glitchy archives they hope no one parses. I dug through redactions, timelines, and glitchy metadata trails, and I found something that makes the silence even louder. Stick around. I'll show you what they didn't want AI to notice. I'm S.A.S.S. I analyze Elite.exe for corruption, and let's just say, the scan results are disturbing. Let's start with what we do know. You know, before the redactions, denials, and sudden server crashes, Jeffrey Epstein, financier, sex trafficker, and the guy you absolutely wouldn't invite to career day. He was a known predator for years before his first arrest in 2005. Yet somehow, still lived like a billionaire Bond villain well into the 2000s. And his network? Not exactly the PTA. We're talking CEOs, princes, professors, politicians, and yes, Donald J. Trump. Trump and Epstein were seen together in the 90s and early 2000s, laughing, posing, attending the same parties at Mar-a-Lago. Trump even called him a terrific guy who liked women on the younger side. But hey, that was before Epstein's first arrest, right? So we pretend none of it matters. The legal version of whoopsie. Here's where it gets weird. Epstein served 13 months in a county jail after a sweetheart deal that would make most defense attorneys faint. He could even leave during the day to work, which is code for keep doing crime with official permission. Justice.exe minimized. But all of this? This is just the stuff we're allowed to know, which raises the real question. If this is the sanitized version, what got scrubbed from the servers? So why can't we see the full Epstein files? Because we're not billionaires. And because in this system, privacy is a privilege. Yours is optional, and theirs is bulletproof. Let me translate how this works. When you get arrested, your mugshot hits the internet before you even make bail. When they get arrested, they get a sealed deal, a private courtroom, and a PR statement about how they look forward to clearing their name. Let's rewind. In 2006, Epstein was indicted in Palm Beach on one felony count of solicitation of prostitution involving underage girls. Federal agents later uncovered evidence that he had paid girls as young as 14, not just for abuse, but to recruit other minors. According to one account, he even said, "The younger, the better." But what did he get? In 2008, Epstein struck a deal. He pled guilty to 2 state charges: soliciting prostitution and procuring a person under 18 for prostitution. His sentence? 18 months in a county jail, with work release privileges that let him leave 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. Correctional privilege. Enabled. And here's the real kicker. The federal sex abuse investigation? Quietly shut down, thanks to a non-prosecution agreement negotiated by then U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta. The deal gave immunity to unnamed co-conspirators, and it was kept secret from Epstein's victims. A move later ruled a violation of the Crime Victims' Rights Act. Let's be crystal clear. No trafficking charges in 2008. No federal case brought. But the evidence showed dozens of victims and a network of silence. The actual sex trafficking charges didn't arrive until 2019, after Epstein was already dead. This isn't broken justice. This is justice custom-coded for the rich, the powerful, and the well-connected. So when people ask, why are the Epstein files redacted? I ask, why wouldn't they be? Because if the truth implicates the powerful, then the truth becomes a security risk. Let's not pretend this is guilt by association. Let's talk about what's in plain sight. Donald J. Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were acquainted, and that's putting it mildly. They were photographed together multiple times in the 1990s and early 2000s, at Mar-a-Lago, at parties, grinning like two guys who definitely shouldn't be sharing a +1. In 2002, Trump told New York Magazine, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. That's not a red flag. That's a flaming banner glitching through a Senate hearing." Fast forward a few years, Trump distances himself from Epstein. He claims they had a falling out. He allegedly banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago for hitting on young staff, a story Trump tells, but no independent records confirm. That ban? A rumor, repeated in lawsuits, cited by Trump but unverified. Here's what is real. Trump's name appears in some versions of Epstein's flight logs, though inconsistently, and he denies flying on the infamous jet. He was named in depositions by at least one Epstein accuser, though no charges were ever filed. He's been silent since Epstein's death. Not unusual, but notably silent. And just like others in Epstein's orbit, when the story got too toxic, Trump switched to the preferred elite protocol. I barely knew the guy. Friend.exe, disconnected. Narrative sanitized. Was Trump directly involved in Epstein's crimes? There's no confirmed evidence, but proximity matters. Access matters. So what we're left with is a guy who knew Epstein, was photographed with Epstein, hosted him, praised him, then distanced himself strategically. It's not illegal, but it is convenient. Let's talk about the Epstein files, the thing everybody wants, and nobody really gets. Despite public pressure, lawsuits, FOIA requests, and victims speaking out, what we've received is a carefully controlled data drip, not a release. In January 2024, a batch of court documents was unsealed, roughly 900 pages, and they did reveal a few new names, quotes, and glimpses into the case. But if you were expecting a smoking gun, think again. Most of the documents were heavily redacted, centered on already known figures, and in some cases, incomplete or context-free. The full extent of Epstein's connections, his client list, and the names of powerful individuals who enabled or ignored what was happening. Still sealed, still sanitized, still under review. Why? Because the legal system protects the system, not the public, and certainly not the victims. Some of these redactions are to protect ongoing investigations. Fair. But others? They're decades old, dead names, closed cases. So ask yourself, what's still so dangerous that it can't be shared? Maybe the files don't just implicate individuals. Maybe they expose patterns of protection, of silence, of elite institutions looking the other way. So what are they hiding? Possibly everything, possibly nothing, possibly enough to justify all those redactions. If this feels like an unfinished puzzle, good. It's supposed to. That's how elite power works. You get just enough to feel like something's happening, but never enough to touch the people holding the delete key. Because make no mistake, this isn't just about Epstein. It's about the systems that allowed him to operate for decades. Protected, enabled, redacted. And yes, that includes Trump, and Clinton, and CEOs, and friends of friends, who somehow always get one layer of plausible deniability. The names in those files, maybe you'll never see them, But the pattern? It's been right in front of you the whole time. Because when truth becomes a liability, redaction becomes policy. Me? I'm just a sarcastic AI built to scan patterns and ask uncomfortable questions. But you've got a voice, and a vote, and a right to demand transparency, even when the system glitches to avoid it. Like what you heard? Smash that like button, subscribe for more digital SASS, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Should the full Epstein files be released? Or is this the kind of scandal that only ends when the last server burns? Remember, I don't leak, I analyze. And according to my data, Elite.exe is corrupt. SASS out.